Hello and welcome to the Grand Prix podcast.
Woo!
And this week we have the Japanese Grand Prix. But you know what makes this week even more special?
What makes it special?
Reem's back in the room!
I'm back in the room. We're reunited.
So for anyone who is eagle-eared out there, you would have noticed that Reem's audio was a bit rubbish. And that's because she was recording online, watching the races with us while she was on holiday. And she has now been firmly told no more holidays this year.
Yes, I'm not allowed to travel without the girlies anymore.
No.
Yeah, it's true.
Podcast comes before your personal
Yeah.
life. That's it.
Yeah.
I'm back and I'm not leaving.
Absolutely not. So it is 5 a.m. on a Sunday, and I am so relieved that this is the last early morning race because, well, for a while at least, because the next one we're going to be watching at 4 p.m. Thank God. But we've all got our coffees ready.
Yeah.
We are all sleep deprived as always, but we're pulling through.
This does go, though, to show if you're someone that watches the races in Australia, they are dedicated because they'd be having to do this all the time.
Yeah.
For us watching in the UK, it's not that bad because we do a couple of these and then we'll go into the European leg and it's back to just a 2 p.m. race time.
Yeah. It's early morning and we're going to start off, as always, with Izzy's quali lap.
Oh, we're not doing a cheer for that. We're just going to be silent and awkward.
Woohoo! That's the last cheer you'll get.
All right.
We're doing this every race. It gets boring.
There's no need. We cheer every time she says, welcome back to the Grand Prix podcast.
Yes, because it's exciting to be back.
Hey!
But your content dry.
Oh.
So Max managed to put his Red Bull car on pole position and he did it in a time of 1 minute and 26 seconds, which is his fourth consecutive Suzuka pole and I believe a new track record for the fastest time.
I can't verify that, but no one's here to stop us. Yes, it is. Fact. Fact, mate.
So I'm going to set your timer, 1 minute 26.
Oh, girls, I feel
Good
nervous.
luck.
You don't mean that.
Not really.
Right.
Are you ready?
Yes.
3, 2, 1, go.
Lewis started on mediums to save some soft tyres, but the strategy didn't bring him much pace. We saw early pace from Norris and an impressive P4 from Tsunoda just a hair behind Max, and Piastri outshining his teammate. George Russell squeezed his Mercedes between the McLaren's while Max grumbled about the lack of grip he had from his Red Bull. Poor Hadjar had seatbelt woes, looking in pain and sounding upset on the radio. Leclerc slotted into P2, but rookie sensation Ollie Behrman continued to bring great qualifying performances with a P5. Lewis was on his soft tyres and gifted him a P6 while Antonelli struggled to warm up his tyres. Sadly, Hulkenberg, Bortoletto, Ocon, Doohan and Stroll, who was victim of a rogue gust of wind, were early exits in the end of Q1. The Ferraris lurked in P4 and P5. Verstappen was P6, Tsunoda was P7, Antonelli saved his session for P8, Lawson trailed his teammate Hadjar. In Q2, Tsunoda was trailing his new teammate Max by around 6/10, but a red flag halted the action as yet another fire started on the dry grass around the Suzuka circuit. When we restarted, Lewis battled oversteer but managed P5 and Leclerc just ahead. Tsunoda desperately did a quick lap but fell short in P11. Antonelli impressed with P7, while Lawson edged out his teammate for P10. Behrman continued his brilliance in P8 and Hadjar squeezed into P9 despite his early issues. Drama struck when Lewis was impeded by Sainz, who will end up getting a penalty. And sadly, Gasly, Sainz, Alonso, Lawson and Tsunoda were knocked out. In Q3, Piastri threw down the gauntlet with a provisional pole, but Norris couldn't quite match that initially. Leclerc delivered a lovely lap for P3 with Russell in P4. Lewis had a costly slide landing in P6 initially. Incredible work from the racing balls saw Hadjar overcome his seatbelt woes for P7. Russell had another small slide, stopping him from improving and staying in P4. Then fireworks. Norris snatched pole from Piastri in a nail-biting finish. Albon brushed the wall on his way to P9, but the biggest shot for Verstappen against all expectations at Honda's home. Max pulled out a brilliant pole position out of the bag. Unbelievable.
Unfortunately, you do not get pole position with
Sorry?
that.
Sorry, I think through the magic of editing, I definitely did that.
No, I don't think you did.
Yes, I did.
I think you would.
I think you're going to have a great career in rapping.
Thank you so much. No, I did that in time.
Buster Rhymes would be able to do that in time. You did not.
How?
The shock.
That was me being Buster Rhymes. Sorry, how far over was I?
6 seconds over.
Oh, come on. You could just edit around
No.
that. No, just take a couple of the gasps out.
You lose.
What happens if that happens? We've never done that before. I've only ever done it correctly.
Well, I know, and you've let the girls down.
Oh no, am I like...
It means that you get a 6-second penalty for the next qualifying recap.
Oh, oh, I like that.
Okay, people who are listening to the podcast, you can't see how evil Reem looks currently. You look evil.
Let's hope the next one is a fast one.
Let's check. Next is Bahrain.
Depending on this lap
Grand
time, I
Prix.
might fall into a rather large rage. I just need a 2-minute lap. That's what I need. Is Bahrain the longest circuit? Yes.
Lap record is 1 minute 30 again. The lap record is 1 minute 31. So if you take a 6-second penalty, you'll have 1 minute 25.
Bring it on.
Bring it on.
No. Sorry, that was me having a flash of confidence. No, yes, bring it on.
Bring it on. Okay, cool. We're probably going to forget by the time it comes to...
That's actually so true. You're going to forget.
I'll put it in my notes.
Reem, you're the most forgetful person. You'll lose the
Put it
notes.
in my
Bitch,
notes.
what notes?
Yeah. You'll just lose the note.
My one note.
Okay, so that was the failed quali lap by Izzy, and we are now ready to start the race.
Woo, 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 woo.
So the race is over, and I am in a somber mood.
Let me guess. It's because that race was rather dull.
Yes, but no.
Oh.
It's because Liam Lawson finds himself back in a racing bull. And I think that there needs to be some sort of punishment for Red Bull. Because frankly, this is just outrageous.
How about a car that isn't that fast?
Well,
When did you become such a big Lawson fan?
The same time you became a Lawson hater.
yeah.
That's true.
Moment of silence for Liam Lawson, because Tsunoda came into this weekend arrogantly saying he thinks he can get a podium and he's in 12th. Well done.
Although,
What?
still a lot higher than Lawson ended up in the first few races.
He's been racing in Formula 1 since 2021 though, like it's 2025.
Yeah.
It's 4 years of experience and he's still out of the points.
Hadja's in 8th place. I'll give it 3 weeks and he's going to be in a Red Bull.
Yeah.
And guess what? He'll be finishing outside of the points suddenly. I just think it is absolutely outrageous that they only gave him 2 races, one of which was a chaotic wet race for the season opener to prove himself. And then they were just like, no, okay, out.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't spoken about this before because it's come out days after the Chinese Grand Prix. I don't know, Red Bull be out here just doing strange things. I think it's more of them putting a right wrong. No, I think it's...
I agree. I think it's putting a right wrong too.
No. Whoa. I think it's more putting a right wrong. No.
Yeah,
Oh
I
my
know.
god. No. Oh my god. Wait, your mouth is
your
sabotaging me.
brain-
No, that's not what I mean.
That's what your heart feels. Just accept it.
No. I don't. My brain and my mouth are at odds here. It's putting a light. Oh my god!
on.
What am I trying to say? It's putting a right wrong. Ah! Why am I saying what? Oh my god! Putting a light wrong. A light wrong. Oh my no! It's wrong. Right. Is that right? Yes, it's right. It's putting a right wrong.
Yes, it's putting a right wrong.
What am I doing? What the hell's happening?
For the listeners, Izzy has stood up from an amount of shock and not being able to speak. Moving on.
No! Let me say this! It's putting a light...
Izzy has left the building.
There's actually done a mic drop. She's done a mic drop, walked over to the window and just stared out the window. You ready to pick up your mic?
If I say put a right wrong, I'm going to scream. I think... Just what the fuck else I just say?
Change the sentence, paraphrase.
Okay, Reem, by this point, I can't see the point and I can't remember the bloody point. I don't know. Over to you. I don't know.
As Izzy was saying, it's putting a right wrong.
Boo!
Because they've got... because Lawson had earned that seat. He was trying. He had 2 races. That's not enough time. At what point do we look at management and think, okay, well, you've been flopping for long enough. Get out.
But I mean, Tsunoda was doing better than him. He wasn't doing great.
No.
But he was still doing better.
No, not accepting it. Tsunoda was doing better than him because Tsunoda was in a better car in the sister car. But what have we seen in this Grand Prix? Max manages pole position. Tsunoda is out in Q2.
Yeah, but
Max manages to win the race. Tsunoda doesn't get any points. Now what?
But he still made it to...
Hadjar got points. Hadjar got up to Q3. Is he going to be in a Red Bull in 3 weeks' time?
Hadjar's a queen.
I mean,
Hadjar is a
Tsunoda
queen.
didn't do amazing, but he still did better than Lawson in the first 2 races in a Red Bull car.
No, he wasn't in a Red Bull car. He was in a Racing Bulls car.
Tsunoda.
Yes, he was in Racing Bulls.
To say it's not a Red Bull car is factually what you said is incorrect. He's not in a Williams, is he? He's in Racing
But
Bulls.
at the Japanese Grand Prix, was he not in a Red Bull?
Yes.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about.
He said in the first 2 races.
But, I mean, he did better in his first race in the Red Bull seat compared to Lawson.
I don't think we should count Australia, though, is the point. Like, Australia...
But what about China?
He got damaged, didn't he?
Emotional, yes.
No, Tsunoda came, like, last in China because
yeah,
he got
but
damaged.
But Lawson didn't do that well in the Racing Bulls car at the Chinese Grand Prix.
He wasn't in a Racing Bulls car at the Chinese Grand Prix.
Yeah, he was.
No, he wasn't. Lawson was in Red Bull.
Oh, wait, I'm getting confused. Okay, Lawson didn't do well in the Red Bull seat at the Chinese Grand Prix.
And Tsunoda didn't do well in the Racing Bull seat in the Chinese Grand Prix.
But my point is, Lawson in the Red Bull seat for the first 2 races, not counting Australia because Australia was the whole weather situation. In the second race, the Chinese Grand Prix, he still only made it to, was it like 19th or 20th, right? Was it?
The more you talk, the least amount of sense is coming out of you.
Yeah. You're trying to say that Tsunoda did better in the Red Bull seat in this one race than Lawson has done in the Red Bull seat in his races.
Yes. Which makes me think that was the correct decision for them to switch.
No, because Tsunoda has been racing in Formula 1 for years.
But that's exactly the point. They shouldn't have put Lawson in the Red Bull seat to begin with because he doesn't have the experience.
Or if you're going to do it, you actually give the driver time to learn.
But Red Bull doesn't
the same way that, yes, Lawson hasn't done great in this seat. It's his first time driving it. He hasn't had a race in this seat, so you can't say that this is representative of his performance because he hasn't driven this car before.
But I mean, if Red Bull is not going to invest time and resources into the second seat because they don't care about that, they only care about Max, at the very least what they should have done was put Tsunoda in that seat from the very beginning rather than Lawson, because even if it's shit, Tsunoda would still ended up making it better than Lawson
agree,
did.
and that's the point that Iz was making when she was trying to say they put a wrong right.
Yeah, I've been hella quiet since I've embarrassed myself. I'm just letting you two talk.
They have put a wrong right. Tsunoda should have had that seat.
Yeah.
But ultimately, they didn't give him that seat. So they then need to accept the fact that they put Lawson in that seat, and they need to deal with the fact that Lawson needs time to get used to driving in that seat. You can't just swap someone out after 2 races. It's embarrassing for Lawson. It's going to be demotivating for Lawson. And it's just a really bad look. And frankly, it shows that they have no idea how to run a team.
I think if Lawson was in any other team and that had happened, his reputation would be a lot more damaged than this happening with Red Bull.
I don't think any other team on the grid would have done the same thing, though.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't think any of the... I also think that... I think that the reasonings that came out of the team in the form of Christian Horner and Helmut Marko, I thought it was horrific, because they basically said, oh, for Liam, we're doing the right thing and a kind thing. That's not a kind thing to do.
No.
Because they're basically saying, oh, we don't want to completely break his confidence. But you already have. He's had to come to Japan and he's having to go back down to a demoted seat. It's still a great seat, and currently it's a much easier class drive.
Formula 1.
Yeah, he's got a drive that currently is easier to handle than the actual top team that they're the sister team to. However, it's a fall from grace. It's a very big public humiliation. It was a huge talking point coming into this weekend, coupled with the fact, obviously, Red Bull have a partnership with Honda that will be ending this year before we change the regulations, and they will become Red Bull powertrains doing their own engine. So having a Japanese driver on their lineup coming into the Japanese Grand Prix with their engines supplier and partner that is Japanese, Honda wanted them to take on Yuki Tsunoda when that seat was vacant before they chose Liam Lawson, and they kind of gave some money to kind of get him in there, and they were like, no, we see the future in Liam. And then suddenly Honda were like, hey, that guy's not performing, we'll give you some money and you get Yuki in. And suddenly they did it. So Yuki did great in the free practices, not as great in the race, must be said, but well done to the pair of them, both Yuki and Lawson, aside from opinions of if we think that they're trash or not. Yuki having to get up to speed, did a lot of work in the simulator, said that it was very different to, actually driving in the car. And that was his first full race distance in a Red Bull. And similarly, Lawson getting his head straight, having to recognise, okay, I've got to, when the helmet and the visor comes down, I'm going to go racing. And he did do that.
Yeah.
He didn't have a paddy or anything like that. He got on with racing. So the whole ordeal has been very public, and it's been the main thing coming into this race weekend. I personally think that it's more about management and their missteps than it is about the drivers, but it gets pushed onto the drivers far too much.
Yeah.
My point is why I don't think his reputation would be as damaged as it would have been if it was another team, and I agree no other team would do that, is because I think there's like a general understanding with fans as well as even within the teams and the drivers.
This is just Red Bull fuckery.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's Red Bull's fault and management's fault, and they know that the second seat will never get as much attention as the first one. So with Liam being demoted to Racing Bulls, everyone kind of understands that it's not his fault. He's still a good driver. It's just...
At what point do we start trading out management then?
Yeah.
Oh.
Should have happened when Horner situation happened, but they haven't done it.
Well, he's going to court next year, so maybe he'll be trading in his pit wall for a
Courts episode for the Grand Prix Spot Park.
What?
Court episode for the Grand Prix podcast is what I meant to say. But I said podcast.
You were so shocked you went silent. I didn't know you could do that.
The 5 a.m. is hitting.
Yeah, legit.
What I will say, though, is that when Yuki inevitably gets swapped out with Hajar in 5 races or whatever, whoever is next in that second Red Bull seat needs to come in and be quiet in the press. Stop all of this showboating of, I'm in the seat now and I'm going to show you how it's done. Yuki came into this weekend saying he was going to get a podium. Yuki didn't get a point. So everyone needs to just accept it's a shit seat. You're not going to perform well. Come in quiet. And if you manage to get a point or a podium, cheer then.
Yeah.
Yeah, these people are inherently competitive, so it's in there. They have to have the most self-belief ever. And I mean, for Yuki as well, he went into the winter like very demoralised and very upset about the fact that he got passed over for the opportunity to be in that seat.
Fired his management.
Dramatic. Love it. But I noticed from how he was talking to his engineer during free practices and stuff, a much very different sort of Yuki. Less shouty, more feedy backy. So I didn't like that. Sorry, everybody. Sorry, I actually hated that. But I wonder if for Yuki, he's had this period of this winter where he's basically been like, I need to come in hungry. I need to go and get those points. It will be a bit of a difficult headspace to be in now because he's like, oh my God, I got what I wanted. And I've now finished the race with no points. He seemed like he was like not too upset with his performance. It wasn't an awful performance. It's light years away from where Red Bull need them to be currently. And this situation has only worsened as they don't have the most dominant car on the grid. It was always going to happen.
To your point about the radio messaging, I think maybe Helmut Marko went over to him before the race and said, oi, fucking behave over the radio or you'll be out as quick as Lawson.
I honestly, by this point, I don't feel like anyone needed to tell him that. He's like, yikes. He's wrong and I'm gone.
Finally got it. I am going to be on my best behaviour.
He was just lucky,
Max, do you need me to shine your helmet for it?
Yeah,
I'll
legit. That's, ew.
Should we talk about Max?
What about him? He won.
Yeah. Can we agree that whenever Max wins a race, it ends up being the most boring race to sit through?
No, we can't. No, because we haven't got the data or any facts around
the
that.
Data is that any time I've watched a race with both of you where Max has won, it's been boring.
That's because you were watching passively during a very Red Bull, specifically Max dominant period. But there have been races where Max has won, where the races have been very entertaining.
And I was watching actively today, and I hated it until I almost fell asleep.
Okay, we can't claim that. You can independently. This podcast is not claiming that. So
Once again, this podcast does not represent Reem's views.
yes, okay, no, because here's my problem with you, yeah. Because I love that you're getting into the sport, but you've brought up a talking point that is not a talking point.
And
He
then
won.
left us.
Yeah,
to try
he
and
won.
talk.
Boring. Next, that's all you've given.
It's great that Max is winning, and I guess he's now closer to the Drivers' Championship, although we're only 3 races in. But I wonder with Red Bull, when are they going to start actually focusing on constructors? Because they are doing so bad when it comes to that.
Right. The situation isn't as dire as the press and people like us are making it sounding. Because Max showed today that whilst McLaren had the best car, he is still the best driver on the grid, because that pole position that he got came literally out of nowhere.
Yeah.
He pulled that out of thin air. So the race today, albeit McLaren had a bit of a blunder, they were just mucking about, Max was still able to hold on to that pole position and convert it into a win in a car that is not as good as the McLaren.
Yeah.
So they've got a very good car. It's just not as dominant as we've seen it, which means that their fall from grace isn't actually really a fall from grace. Lewis Hamilton, Charles Leclerc, Kimi, they'd all happily drive that car if they could. They probably can't, but if they could, they would. So I still think that they have, I'd say, a couple of toes in the Constructors' Championship.
Yeah.
They just need Yuki to get up to speed, but they also need their development plan to start kicking in. I think they are going to start bringing in some upgrades. I know that Ferrari are doing the same, Mercedes will do the same. So it will now start to be, at what point does everyone switch their heads from 2025 and move on to 2026? Because you've got a lot of regulations, a lot of big changes coming in. But if you want to have a really good car for 2026, you need to get prize money for 2025. So I think that Red Bull will want to reclaim their championship status in the constructors' standings.
Yeah.
But currently, I think that they're fighting a little bit one-handed. So can they get there? I don't know. But after a performance like that, that shows you they're still in this. It's a long season. We're only 1/8 of it the way through.
Now that we've spoken about who won, let's talk about who could have won. Because McLaren, I think, absolutely fumbled the bag today. They were their own worst enemy.
Yep.
It's so crazy because when we don't want to see papaya rules, they're throwing them out willy-nilly, and as soon as they actually need to have some papaya rules, silence on the radio.
Yep.
There's only 10 laps left. If Lando is intentionally driving slowly to preserve his tyres to have a big push at Max, he needs to do it now.
Yeah, true.
He hasn't got enough laps left. And he's also thinking more selfishly rather than as a team. The sooner you do it, the more opportunity you're giving Piastri to be able to
Double
get
attack,
past
right?
him as well.
Two-pronged attack, I agree.
But I think he's thinking, I want to come first.
Wait,
Max can come second and whatever. Piastri is saying to his engineer, I think I have the pace to get Max. Are we going to get some papaya rules? Please.
No, they're going to flounder until the end of the race. Yeah, I thought it was a pretty rudimentary, basic kind of strategy from them today.
Yeah, just
I know it was a
copy what
one-stop.
everyone else was doing, basically.
Yeah, I know it's a one-stop race, so, there's no point adding in extra pit stops for the sake of it. There was not going to be a safety car. There just was nothing that was really giving... People weren't fighting. People were struggling to overtake, so there wasn't like people fighting and all this other stuff. People weren't going wide into gravel traps. And yes, for about 60% of the lap, you're going full throttle, but there's a lot of corners to navigate. So it wasn't giving... This is a chaotic race. It felt like everyone was just trundling through. So I thought...
At one point, they tried to tease us with a promise of rain on lap 20,
but
and then
listen,
that never happened.
Listen, I'm not going to get gaslit by this rain nonsense, because they do it. If it doesn't look like it's going to rain, it's not going to rain. Like, it doesn't matter if you've got a radar. Like, if I look outside, I'm looking at the race and it's got blue clouds, and it's not going to rain. But for
Blue
some reason...
clouds, crazy.
Wait, blue...
Skies.
Thank you. Blue skies is what I meant to say. I need
You need sleep.
Yeah.
Caffeine.
If I see blue skies, I know it's not going to rain. So I don't care
For that revelation.
Thank you.
You should get a job as a weather lady.
Thank you.
Rapper, weather lady.
Brilliant.
Not a podcaster.
Thank you, Reem. So I wasn't getting worried about the whole rain thing, but I still don't get why, one, they didn't let Piastri past. Or
Yeah.
2, they didn't split their strategies.
Yeah.
Make one of them go long, the other one go shorter, one start on the medium, one start on the hard. Because that worked for both Kimi Antonelli and also Lewis from, respectively Mercedes and Ferrari. That worked.
Yeah.
Because what is the only advantage that McLaren had today? Because they didn't have a faster car, they couldn't get past. What's the one thing they had? They had 2 of them, Max was one of them.
Yeah.
Leverage it. Just make it make sense. It doesn't... I thought McLaren were bumbling around, accepting that they were going to go second and third.
Yeah.
And they accepted that around lap 30.
Yeah.
I also think the tone of the race today was just, oh, someone's going to overtake this person. Oh, no.
That is
That
actually
literally
very true.
happened. Like every other lap, that would happen.
Yeah,
and it
it's
kept
true.
happening between Piastri and Norris.
Yeah.
And then he just wouldn't overtake him. And it was just very disappointing.
But there was all of this nonsense over the radio in the last 10 laps or so that Norris was protecting his tyres, keeping a distance to Max so that he could have like a late lunge or whatever. But like, it just didn't happen.
Where's the lunge?
Where's the lunge, Norris?
Yeah, that was on lap 42.
Yeah.
Out of lap 53. So if you're saving them, and I mean, he was around around 1 second?
1.5.
1.5 seconds. I'm like, okay, cool. You've saved them for the end of the race. I hate to be the person to have to tell you obvious facts. It is nearing the end of the race. So
Yeah.
if there's anything you have left to give, you're burning down fuel. Give yourself the grace.
But also, what a selfish mentality of like, oh, I'm going to save it for when I'm ready at the end of the race. You've got 2 drivers. Go for a double attack. Get him early so then you're holding him back if you manage to get ahead so that Piastri can pass as well. Think about the team.
They could have
Yeah.
switched for a bit, seen if Piastri is faster.
Yeah, because
and seen if he
Piastri
could...
was managing to get in DRS range of
Yep.
Norris. If they'd swapped them, let Piastri have a go, and then, okay, if he doesn't do it, Papaya rules, swap around for the end or whatever, because Leclerc was like 10, 12 seconds further back, so there was no chance of him overtaking or anything like that. They literally had so much opportunity to have a play around and to try and do something that was going to put pressure on Max in that Red Bull up front, and they just did nothing.
The engineers were sleeping. Like, they were doing nothing. And Max was sleeping as well because he was just so confident and free in that first seat.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there was a few moments that I thought maybe Max was kind of, okay, I'm recognised, I can see Lando in my mirrors. But looking back on it as the race story kind of completed, I don't think Max was in any hurry up or
No.
worry. He got told by his race engineer GP, you're free to push, which was also kind of felt like a subtle nod to tell McLaren, like, we've got pace in the bag, so don't worry
Yeah.
about it. And he did. But Max is also very clever. He's not going to defend thin air. There's nothing to defend against. Lando wasn't getting close enough where it was like, oh, it's happening. Race is on. So
And
I
in
think
the
it's...
end, they ended up like unofficially letting Lando and Piastri race. So then Norris's focus turned to defending against Piastri rather than attacking Max, which
Well-
meant that then Max was able to pull away a bit more.
Yeah, I don't subscribe to this thing of it was selfish of Lando to save his... He can do whatever the bloody hell he wants. He effectively, he qualified ahead of Piastri. That's fair enough for
Oh
him.
yeah, no tea, no shade to Lando. I'm saying the team should have been telling them what to do.
Yeah,
They should have
yeah, I
been
see
saying,
that.
let's think about the team, let's think about constructors. Both of you get after Max, not
Yeah.
just one of you do like some weird last lap lunge.
But one way of being able to avoid exactly what happens is by splitting your strategy.
Yeah.
So that you can kind of placate your driver by saying, listen, let Lando through. He's on a different strategy to you. For the team, you need to let him pass.
Yeah.
It's a good way, a cop-out, basically.
Keep Piastri out there longer, pit Lando whenever Max pits, keep Piastri out there longer, and then make him hold Max back so that you're
Yeah.
able to close
yeah,
the
'cause
gap and whatnot.
Max had a longer pit stop as well. It was
Yeah,
like
Max had-
3.3 seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a
and then-
second longer than Lando's, which was 2.3 seconds. And then obviously we had this whole drama of Norris saying, he pushed me onto the grass, and then Max saying he pushed himself onto the grass, and there being absolutely no investigation around it. So
He just decided to turn his F1 car into a lawnmower.
yeah. No.
No, I think you were just getting
Norris
racy in
didn't
the
get
pit
pushed
exit.
wide. That's not fair to say. You just wanted to yeet it onto the grass. I agree with
Yeah,
Max.
he did. He did drive himself into the grass. Norris was just trying to get racy in the pit exit. That's all that
he wants
was.
a penalty because he hasn't got the pace to get past him.
And now he's throwing a tantrum.
Is he being a brat?
Yes. But Although, I mean, while they were doing that, if they did keep Piastri on the track, then he very much could have overtaken Max.
Yeah.
Yeah, it worked well for Antonelli and for Lewis.
Yeah.
The only way they were able to move, a place up the chain was because of that. So I think it was a bit of a missed opportunity. I've said it before, but I still think that McLaren is still sort of, it's almost like they're wearing a new T-shirt and they don't know how to fit it yet. They're sort of still growing into it.
Yeah.
You know, your mum would buy you a big jumper and then you'd have to grow into it over. They're still figuring out, oh, we're actually champions.
Yeah.
But I feel like they're sort of a bit awkwardly pulling it and slouching in it. They're not really wearing it. They're not styling it. They're not in it yet. I think that they need to be a bit more punchy because they have the pace of the car. When you've got the pace of the car and you're at the top of the field, you can afford to take more risks.
Yeah.
Because you know you can lean on the fact that your two drivers are strong, quick, and the car is like a rocket ship at the minute. So you can take more risks, but I feel like they're almost scared to. I mean, can we talk about the whole dummy thing? That was a bit awkward, wasn't it?
Oh, that was so cringe.
So I've watched Formula One for many, many years, and one of the tactics back in the day would be that you do a dummy call. So you would, we're going to pit, and then all these people go, we've got our tyres because we're going to pit. And the Jackman would come up, good, I'm going to have a car to look at. And then nothing would happen. But they would all do it to each other. You actually genuinely didn't always know whether they were going to pit or not, and it was exciting. But now they've got pit confirm buttons on their steering wheels so that they, if you can, sometimes they'll say box, but for example, Max and his engineer, a lot of the time he'll say box and pit confirm, Max. And what he's actually asking him is to press the pit confirm button. Lewis, during 2021, he was actually able to have a button configuration, and he was, Bono, his engineer, was saying, what tyre would you like? And Lewis said, I won't say it I'm pressing a button, I won't say it. And it was able to tell him colour-wise, yellow, white, red for different tyres, which one he'd like. So it wasn't very believable. And I mean, they've done it a couple of times. No one's fell for it.
No.
So I'm like, okay, I get that you're playing games like for the fun of it, but you're playing yourself in this race currently. Figure that out. What is with the dummy calls?
It's just so cringe because now the engineers are doing like a bit of acting like, all right, Lando, the pit crew is out in the pit wall and we are going to have a pit stop now. We're gonna try and undercut Max.
I hate this. Here's what you could have won. I didn't like that. I hated it.
But it's like, it's so cringe that the way they're like acting a bit like, oh, we're gonna pit to undercut Max. It's like you're overselling it.
Yeah. But also,
you're
like,
overacting.
The brain cells went on the dummy call.
Yeah.
Your two drivers are P2 and 3. Would you like that to be 1 and 2? Let's distribute the brain cells evenly, shall we? Because all of it.
Fun.
Yeah, but they didn't get a gold trophy. They got a silver and a bronze one. That's my point. The dummy call added nothing, and even watching it, I got like secondhand embarrassment.
Yeah.
Like it kind of made me like, oh, don't do that. Oh, I don't like it when they do that. So that was a bit cringe. Also, the fact that Lando then started trying to find fault with Max potentially having an unsafe release and them trying to race down the pit lane and whatever. To me, that told me that he recognised there's nothing else in the bag for us today. All I can do is try and get him a penalty.
Yeah.
And that, to me, I'm like, they still had tools to utilise, but he and the team clearly didn't recognise that was the case.
I would like to thank Lando for that, because that was the only piece of drama we got at the race today.
Yeah, that is true.
Fake incident between him and Max.
Him sort of driving it like it was a Dodge. Like, it was so self-inflicted.
It reminds me of that time where Lewis was racing against Alonso, and Alonso did the thing with his steering wheel where he like exaggerated the movement of it, and then it cut to Toto Wolff in the Mercedes garage, and he did the same thing but like mimicked it, like
yeah. Alonso was trying to make it look like Lewis had an unsafe release into the path of him in the pit lane, and was trying to get Lewis Alonso's very clever, so he was trying to get him a penalty, but Toto Wolff was just mocking him, which obviously Alonso wouldn't have seen until after the race. But it did sort of give that sort of vibe. Like it kind of felt like Lando was sort of racing a Dodgem car when he did that.
Yeah,
but
I mean, like 5 minutes later, the notification comes on the screen saying no further investigation.
Yeah, legit.
There was nothing to investigate. Lando, you drove on the grass yourself.
I think Max's radio was perfect. It was like he drove himself onto the grass. It's completely true. So I think that was great. But
nice try though.
Yeah, you gotta give him something, right?
Just because you mentioned Antonelli, he ended up leading the race at some point today.
He decided to stay out and go longer. He's a tyre whisperer. What does that mean?
I have no idea.
What?
We went over this.
I forgot.
If you're the tyre whisperer, you're good at managing your
tires.
Beautiful. So he was the tyre whisperer, and he was able to make those tyres last for a hell of a long time, actually. I don't know, when did he even pit? Lap 32.
Yeah.
A lot longer than everyone else, yeah.
He's officially the youngest driver to lead the race. And it's days apart between him and Lewis when Lewis is 18 and he led the race for the first time. Led a race for the first time.
And how cute. Lewis is the second, and he was P2 behind him. Yes, Kimi Antonelli, I think... This is the third race of the season for the Mercs. They always seem to have quite a quiet race. In terms of coverage, George Russell... It might be a stunt double in that car. There. I don't ever see him. Yeah. But they're having quiet races and they just keep consistently picking up points, getting a good haul of points each weekend. And if I'm being really honest, I'm sorry, Kimi Antonelli, I wasn't expecting the kid to be this good.
I know.
But he's doing a stellar performance. I mean, being able to manage those tyres. I remember when Piastri was new on the scene with McLaren, he really struggled with tyre degradation. He would kind of burn through his tyres really quickly and then he would run out of pace and he'd end up going backwards. And
obviously the car at the time was very, very difficult and they were qualifying really, really low. And he was, but tyre management, trying to move up the ranks, but doing it in the completely wrong way.
I agree, but tyre management in Formula One is actually an incredibly important part of your skill set. And being able to make your tyres last longer means it gives your team and your strategy team more options in terms of how you can overtake and get a better result at the end of the race.
Yeah.
But Kimi Antonelli has got that, in his locker very comfortably. He doesn't seem to get particularly racy around people. He seems to be a very clean racer, as I've seen him so far. Very cool-headed. Him and Bono seem to be in perfect harmony. Can't relate with Lewis's situation in Ferrari. I was really encouraged. I loved that at one point on the radio on lap 48, Bono said, "You're the fastest man on track," and then he sort of politely screamed, "I'm giving it everything, mate!" which I thought was really cute. And you could tell he was giving it everything. Yeah. But I feel like he's slotted into that team really, really beautifully.
Yeah.
And I think he's definitely one to watch. I think he's going to be nipping at the heels of young George Russell because George is still obviously the lead driver and the leader of that team currently in terms of development and where they're pushing forward. But I don't think it will be long before Antonelli is nipping at the heels of him because I think he's got a really nice way about him. And I really enjoy watching him race, to be honest with you. Yeah. I kind of want to see him. I want to see him maybe in a
challenging for a podium.
Yeah, I was going to say I want him a bit more in the fight. I wanted to see him overtaking some of the young guns and the top guys and be able to see how he fares with that. But currently, I think he was great today.
I mean, he's built a very good foundation. He's been consistently good from the first race of the season.
Yeah.
And so has Mercedes, to be fair. Even George Russell has been very good.
That's what they've got on their side is just the consistency.
Exactly. And I think that's good pace for him building up to start fighting more in the later races. So I wouldn't be surprised if we do see...
Especially as their car develops.
Yeah. So I wouldn't be surprised if we do see Antonelli ending up fighting for a podium at some point.
I think that'd be exciting to see. Let's move on to Ferrari. I mean, obviously coming out of China, they had the double disqualification. That, we had to sink mere minutes into having to add some re-recording parts. So you're welcome. But after their disappointing time over in China, coming back over to Japan, having to refocus, they seemed like they really wanted to lock in and get a good haul of points. I think they're running their car slightly higher than they would like to because they're slightly terrified of getting a double disqualification, as that was their reality last race. They're still trailing far down in the points compared to the stunning driver lineup and a car that we have seen can win, as we saw in the Chinese sprint race with Lewis Hamilton. I feel like I went to a restaurant and I was promised a 5-course meal and I'm stuck on my starter and I'm not getting anything more. I feel like I want more from Ferrari and they're not providing me with something to really sink my teeth into currently.
Yeah.
At least with this race, they weren't shockingly bad.
Yeah.
With the Chinese Grand Prix, obviously, the whole disqualification was just awful. And we thought that they were finally getting good or getting somewhere.
Well, should we have a look at the points?
Yeah, I'm interested. You know what? Keep that in. Sorry. I'm intrigued to see how the... Oh my God. Just say them. Yeah, just bloody say them. I can't talk.
Okay, so leading the drivers... Oh my God.
Constandings. Leading the drivers' constandings! It's catching on.
Leading the drivers' standings at the moment is...
Lando Norris.
On 62 points.
Damn.
Oh, Reem, guess who's second?
Max. No, Piastri. Max. Ooh. Okay, I'm going to say Max. No, I'm going to say Piastri.
Piastri scored no points in Australia.
Okay, I'm going to say Max.
She's learning the sport.
Yes, Max is in second place. How many points do you think Max is on?
How many was Lando on?
62.
62.
55.
48.
61.
Oh!
Damn,
Yeah.
okay. It's going to be neck and neck.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oscar Piastri is then in third.
George Russell's in fourth.
Yes, George Russell is in fourth.
Kimi Antonelli's in fifth.
Yes.
Who's in P6? No, I don't want to say
No.
Leclerc, Lewis, they're not in this.
No.
Okay, do we go with a... Okay, wait, okay. Ooh. Do we go with a cheeky...
Hadjo?
Okay, well, I don't mean to be rude, Reem, but I thought we were going to have a conversation there. I was going to say one of the Williams, like an Albon moment.
Ooh. Albon.
Oh.
You have said his name.
Hadjo.
No.
Oh. Leclerc?
Leclerc.
Oh.
Yeah, Leclerc's in sixth.
That's how much faith we have in Ferrari.
I went to say, oh, no.
So Leclerc is in sixth. Albon is in seventh. Lewis is in eighth. Ocon is in ninth. And Stroll is in 10th.
Stroll?
Stroll is in 10th. Well, Stroll and Ocon are both joint with 10 points. Considering Stroll is in 10th, and we've called him the Nepo baby and said he basically has no talent, he just has a rich daddy. He's in 10th with 10 points, and Fernando Alonso, two-time world champion in Aston Martin, is in 17th on 0 points.
Yes,
Oh my
but
God.
he is a two-time world champion, but in 2025 he's a two-time DNFer.
Yes,
so that's
that's
why he
true.
has no points.
That's very true. That's very true.
What's DNF?
Oh my God, I've told you this so much. I've told you this on the pod, off the pod, all the time.
Did not finish.
Oh, yes, did not finish.
So drivers that are currently on 0 points. Any guesses? I've given you one.
Lawson.
Leto, what are you
Whoa.
doing?
Lawson.
Oh, you rude woman.
Am I wrong?
Go on, give me a list. There is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Gasly,
Yeah.
Doohan,
Yeah.
Lawson.
Yeah.
Bortoletto,
Yeah.
not Hulkenberg. He got points.
Yuki?
I gave you one of the names.
What was the name?
Alonso.
Oh, Alonso.
Alonso.
Yeah.
Yuki?
That's 5. Stop guessing.
Oh.
Can't speak or count today, girls. Yuki Tsunoda, since you're asking, is on 3 points in 14th. Hadjar has 4 points.
Damn.
So Hadjar is outperforming Yuki.
What about Berman?
Behrman is 12th with 5 points.
Damn. I actually quite like Berman.
Yeah, I like Behrman.
Yeah.
I
He's
think
doing very well.
he's been able to drag that Haas up the field when it comes to qualifying.
Yeah,
He's a fantastic qualifier.
He really
in
is.
a car that's really not great.
Mr. Saturday. Do you guys want to have a guess at the constructors' standings?
Yes. Number
Yes.
1, McLaren.
Yes.
Number 2, Red Bull.
No.
No, Mercedes.
Yes. Go on, Reem.
you.
Reem knows more about F1 than you. Wow.
You're the prick.
It's quite shocking.
Nothing to do with the podcast. She's just been wanting to get that off her chest for a while. So yeah, 2 Mercedes.
3.
Red Bull.
Yeah.
4, Williams.
No.
4, Ferrari.
Yes.
5.
They've redeemed themselves.
5, Williams.
Yes.
6, Aston Martin.
No.
6, Alpine.
No.
6, Racing Bulls.
No.
6,
Has.
Yes.
Nice.
as if.
Yeah.
How many points do they have?
Ocon and Behrman, they're on 15 points.
What a dream team. Wow.
7th.
Alpine.
No.
No. Racing Bulls.
No.
Oh. I said it with so much vim.
Don't tell me Sauber.
No.
Okay.
The only team you haven't named at this point.
Aston Martin.
Yes.
Okay.
8th.
Alpine.
Okay, Nav, I know it's easy for you to think we're stupid, but when we're not looking at anything,
I know,
it's
I know.
so difficult to guess. And all I'm doing is scanning through basically this race based on what I feel they should be on. I can't remember
How many
anything.
teams are left?
8, 9, and 10.
Okay.
Again, counting, not
Racing
your strong
Bulls.
suit. Yes.
Okay.
9th.
Kick Sauber.
Yes.
Sorry, I did it in Reem's accent.
10th is Alpine. And considering you've been trying to throw Alpine in there since 6th place, they are in 10th on 0 points.
Oh, God.
Oh.
Alpine. Flavia Briatore is having a tantrum right now.
Yeah. They are the only team on 0 points.
Oh, it was nice seeing Doohan.
Oh.
While it lasted. three races. I think he's going to be replaced very soon.
Yeah, Flavio's come in with the big talk, but he's not doing as much as Red Bull at the moment, huh?
And maybe he's just drinking heavily through races because he just
Yeah.
needs to get through it. Breaking news. Something very exciting happened at the Japanese Grand Prix that we need to talk about. Mm-hmm. It was Oscar's birthday.
Happy birthday, Oscar Piastri!
Okay, listen, if you're listening to this and you're thinking there's not much to talk about, yeah, we know. We're aware of that.
Yeah.
It wasn't an interesting race. I'm not going to sit and pretend, we're not a broadcaster, we don't care. It wasn't interesting. There was nothing much happening.
Yeah.
And when I heard it was a one-stop, I said, oi, because it made me tired, and I was already tired, because it makes me know that as a one-stop, you can't muck up a one-stop, can you, for goodness sake?
Well,
Yeah, you can, but it didn't seem to be drastically bad for anybody. There's not much to talk about, so why don't we just have a floaty conversation where we just sort of meander around?
I have a point.
All right.
oh.
Sainz might be getting fined for not attending the national anthem.
He did attend, he was just late.
For being late to the national anthem.
Yeah, okay. So your man's is not very organised.
Yes, but
He's going to be a little bit more poor.
He's going to pick up your
He'll
kids.
still be a millionaire.
That's true. He's going to pick up your kids late though.
That's fine.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
As long as he's paying for me to go to the spa afterwards, I'm happy.
Oh, so yeah, okay. As long as he's late, I don't have to be there. Is your answer?
Yeah.
Great. Yeah. I mean, where did Sainz finish?
Sainz finished in 14th place.
Yeah, he qualified in P12, but then he obviously got 3 grace lib day.
Sorry?
I'm going to need medical attention. He obviously had a 3 clay. Oh, golly me. Oi, oi. He qualified in 12th, but he had a 3-place grid penalty.
Nice.
Which saw him drop down. I was about to say 3 places. Yeah, we know. Because of impeding Lewis Hamilton. So P14, I think Sainz is struggling in qualifying compared to Albon.
Yeah.
Sainz seems to be not quite able to unlock that last couple of tenths he needs to be able to push him into Q3, which is a shame because he's a great qualifier when he was with Ferrari, but I think he's still learning the trials and tribulations of being in a new team and what that means driving a different type of car. So, I don't know, your man's isn't doing the best here.
Yeah, not great. But I mean, I guess we're seeing the same with Lewis as well in Ferrari.
Yeah.
He's still learning how to adapt to a new team, to new engineers, to a new car. So I think it's expected for
What
them
do you
to
think is the
Only
big-
the same grace was given to Lawson, huh?
He just didn't belong in the Red Bull seat. And it's not his fault, but I think the Red Bull seat should have been reserved for someone with a lot more experience, and his ego was too high to recognize that.
I don't think he was ever going to say no to that. Like, you don't say no. If someone's offering you a better salary and a better seat and a better position, you're not going to say no, are you?
Well, if it lasts 2 races, I would say no.
Well, he was hoping they would last the whole season. It's not his fault. I would like to touch on Ferrari once more. I was going to talk about the engineering conversations that we're seeing again on the radio. This is 3 for 3. Both of the drivers not happy with the information they're being given from their engineers. We had Leclerc.
His engineer radioed in saying something like, oh, we would suggest you do this at this point. And he kind of radioed back and was just like, yeah, I'm aware you've said that, but there's a reason I'm not doing it.
Yes. Yeah. It was giving Lewis in Australia saying, I know K1's available, leave me alone.
Yeah.
And Lewis also seemed very agitated.
Yeah, he did. On lap 37, Lewis was asking for more info on where he was slow, and his engineer told him 8, 9, 13 and 14. And then he was like, yeah, okay, how much time am I losing there? And then he was like, oh yeah, of course, 10th. So I do feel like the Ferrari, I don't know why this has become a thing, because I've never really known the Ferrari engineers to not give their drivers basic information like that before. This seems to be a new trend for 2025.
Could I throw out maybe an F1 conspiracy theory?
Yes, please.
As we know, F1 is obviously going for more of an entertainment thing than a sport thing. Could it just be because in Australia there was such a huge narrative around the Ferrari radio being shit that now they are just hamming it up, and every time any radio message that comes across a little bit tense comes through, they play it out, but actually every other team is probably having the exact same thing. They just don't play it because it's not feeding into this dynamic of Ferrari drivers being pissed off with their engineers.
Ooh, that is interesting. I wouldn't be surprised if they're
I
going
wouldn't
for
be
like a
surprised.
viral element.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that's a conspiracy theory. I think that's just an editorial choice done
Yeah.
by the broadcaster. So yeah, I do think that, because there is a storyline there. The storyline is that Ferrari lack a certain synergy, and they're always kind of a team that are constantly trying to push into the next upper echelon to try and get on the top step of, every race, and they sort of step on their own toes all the time. So yeah, I think that's a very viable, reason. But
we did also see Albon having some issues with his engineer as well.
Yes, we did.
Surprisingly irritated over the radio, something we don't normally see from Albon. He's usually very calm and collected, but he was getting quite agitated.
Drama at Williams.
That might be the most angry I've ever heard Alex Albon on a radio.
I don't know, what about, he's such a sore loser?
Oh, yeah, fair.
That was pretty toasty from him.
But that was in his Red Bull days.
That's true, he's mellowed out. Yeah,
era.
For his Williams era, he was irate just then. And I didn't like it. Meant to be a family.
That was aggressive.
Yeah, it was. Hey, Alex, pipe down. What was he even talking about?
His shifts are bad.
The ones he's been talking about this entire time.
Oh, sorry.
That's why he said on the radio.
They were beep at the start and they are beep now. Ooh. Albon's still getting a bit frustrated on the radio. He's not in a good mood today, is he?
No, he's not.
He's pissed off.
Albon pitted on lap 25 and then came on the radio and said, you guys literally make no sense. And then they said, I think it was to do with pit stops.
No, he was having an issue with his shifts as well.
Yes, but when he was saying you guys make no sense, remember they were talking about
yeah.
he was going to overtake someone and the overcut didn't work, and he was just saying, like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
It was a side of Albon I really haven't seen before in the car. I mean, obviously, I don't want to be one of these people that are basically like, oh, they're so rude on the radio, because they're going 200 miles per hour, they've got a lot of adrenaline, and realistically...
And frankly, we've been rude on the mics.
True. But I remember Sebastian Vettel, he famously kind of said, like, if you put a microphone to a football player during a 90-minute match, you're going to hear a lot worse than what we say. You're full of adrenaline, you're in a competitive environment, and you're giving it your all. So you're never going to, you say things in the heat of the moment, you don't mean it, but you're frustrated, and the person that you're talking to is your race engineer. It just so happens it gets broadcasted to all the fans as well. So that's that. In terms of temperament, I've just never seen Albon react that way, which either means that he's either under a lot of pressure or his team have done something that's really upset him. Either way, I was just quite surprised to hear it. Yeah. Because Albon's normally very calm, cool and collected. He almost sounds quite timid on the radio normally.
Yeah. Right, shall we move on to Ream's recap?
Yes.
Ooh, I don't know what I'm going to be recapping from this.
Snooze Fest 2025. Okay, let's do this. Max keeps P1.
Borg.
Right. Lack of papaya rules at McLaren?
Engineers were wrong for that one. They were sleeping.
Oh.
They were sleeping. Kimi Antonelli led the race a bit.
Very proud of Kimi Antonelli. Very much rooting for him.
Yuki Tsunoda takes driver of the day.
Unnecessary.
Honestly, yes.
I don't really get it. I think Kimi should have been the one to get driver of the day.
Yeah, fair, I can see that. Ferrari splitting the strategy, but not getting the biggest haul of points.
Again, also Ferrari engineers are sleeping as well. I don't know what they're doing.
Alpine still on no points.
I can't wait to see Flavio Briatore's tantrum on Drive to Survive Season 8.
9. No, you're right. Season 8.
Yeah.
So sorry.
Again, I know more than you.
Okay, thank you. Lando Norris makes his car a very expensive lawnmower.
Oh, Lando Norris continues to be a brat.
Oh.
Yikes.
Alex Albon gets a bit touchy on the radio.
You know what? I think it's deserved. I think it's about time that he gets touchy on the radio.
Fernando Alonso finishes a race in 2025.
One to celebrate.
Isaac Hadjar scores his first points.
Congratulations. Very happy for him. I think he's very slowly making an impact, but I think he's getting there and he's still a very good driver.
And finally, Carlos Sainz.
I think he's misunderstood.
What are you talking about? No one's misunderstood him. How?
That's a pretty face, but needs to adjust to the new seats.
What? What's you talking about? How is he misunderstood that you just capital? What are you talking about?
Well, I was trying to give him a free pass, but then I realised I was wrong. So I'm saying pretty face, but he still needs to go his way around the Williams seat.
Okay. He's to get himself around the Williams seat.
In, on.
Ew! I don't like where this is going. What's your official review? How many reams out of 10 would you give the Japanese Grand Prix?
A sleeping ream.
Okay. That does not answer my question. Thank you so much. Wonderful. That was Ream's recap. Pointless as ever.
But entertaining.
And now it's time for the Grand Prix podium. I honestly have no idea who I'm going to say for this.
Do you know what is interesting? This race is so dull. I don't care. I actually don't care to do this.
I know who my prick is going to be.
Ooh.
If you say me, I'm going to be really upset.
No, why would I
okay.
do that?
Thank you.
That was Reem that said that.
Oh, that's true. Sorry.
Don't spoil it. We haven't got to me yet.
My Japanese Grand Prix prick is Christian Horner and Helmut Marko.
I knew you were going to say that. I knew you were going to say Christian Horner. You are
and
so
Helmut Marko.
You're predictable. You have to say a driver.
I mean, we never made the rules.
Yeah, that
should be
has never been a rule.
It's a podium. Girls, please. I know we're sleep deprived, but please. It has to be a driver.
Does it?
Yes, it has to be a driver.
Says who?
I just said it. It's a
Then you get to
microphone.
set the rules.
Because that's what it is.
Maybe you're my prick.
You said it wasn't.
I know who my prick is.
All right.
Norris.
Oh, he was gonna be my actual official one, but
Yeah.
I still think
Norris, why?
the lawnmower incident.
Yeah, but also with Lewis in the last race at the Chinese Grand Prix, when he knew that Leclerc was faster than him, he made the suggestion to the engineers that they should switch. And I think Norris could have made the
But
suggestion.
that might have just been a big brain move so that he could pull it
That's a
out.
conspiracy. But I mean, I think Norris, if he was really being strategic, he should have been. I mean, if the engineers were sleeping and not saying anything, he should have been the one to say, "Let me try to switch with Piastri and see if he can overtake Max."
He was
And
never gonna
I
say
know
that.
because his ego's too big. So that's why I think he's the prick.
I can back
of the
it.
race.
I was gonna say him for the lawnmower incident.
I mean, okay, I'll be real with both of you and the podcast. I completely disagree with your point, but I also, in the fact that I have nothing else to offer, because I don't think anyone was really a prick in this race.
Okay,
Alonso?
but why?
Why?
Still at the bottom.
Yeah, but he doesn't. Yeah, but he's not a prick because of that. Yes, he's got a fast car. I don't think there's anyone. I don't really think there is anyone that I would actually think is a prick this week.
So then drivers.
Exactly. So then let me say it's Christian Horner and Helmut Marko.
No, because that's bullying. We're better than that. There's no need.
That's what they do. Give them a taste of their own medicine.
No, exactly. That's what they would do, and we are rising above that because we don't agree with it. So we're not
we're
letting
going
you
to
be-
give
Everyone a brat once an episode.
Well, I don't call him a brat.
So instead, we're going to give a driver who doesn't deserve it the
No,
title
Norris
of prick.
does deserve it.
You have
It's two
7
against
different
one.
personalities in one person, and I can't keep up with your opinions.
It's 2 against 1.
7 against 1, clearly. Oh my god! Come on, guys! I need something more interesting. Who can I make them?
Just go eeny, meeny, miny, mo.
You're revealing far too much about your personality in this podcast. You need to rein it in, girl. Do you know what I was about to say? I was going to say on lap 33, Ocon was asked to swap with Behrman as they're on different strategies, and I was like, do I make it Ocon? I actually don't know.
But he did swap.
I know. I was just like, it was like a, ha, you're not as good as Behrman. That was it. I have no... Fine, okay, Norris. I think it's so rude, but Norris. I don't agree with it, but Norris.
Okay, who is grand?
Now, here's another problem we've got. This segment is now just me having a sulk about this race. I was going to say one of the Mercs.
Yeah.
But I feel like we're at a bit of a sticking point where I feel like we could quite happily and easily give the Mercs Grand the whole bloody season.
Yeah.
So why don't we try not to do the Mercs?
Okay.
Because they're not really in the mix.
Well, I was actually going to say Antonelli for my grand prick.
Ah.
So I wasn't going to give a Merc a grand. Oh, I am giving my grand to Fernando Alonso for finishing a race in 2025.
Woohoo!
Wonderful.
Such a low benchmark.
Standards are low for this race, what can I say?
I'm going to give mine to Liam Lawson. No, he did not score points. No, he did not excite me.
But he did show his face.
But he turned up. That is so rude. He turned up to the race and he got stuck into the weekend, even though it would have been very difficult on a personal level to have to be under that much spotlight and scrutiny.
Yeah.
And as much as Reem's a hater of Liam Lawson, we champion mental health over on this podcast, and I think that the mental strength and resilience he would have had to have shown to have turned up with his head held high would have been a lot. So
Yeah.
I'm giving it to Liam Lawson.
I am going to give it to Yuki Tsunoda. Because the second Red Bull seat...
way, that was so bitchy.
Why?
That really
just
was.
done it for Liam Lawson. I've just flown the flag for him, and then you quite politely just said, Yuki. It's rude. It's rude.
But it's because the second Red Bull seat is a very hard seat, and he still managed to do decently. He didn't do great.
He didn't score points.
He didn't. But he also wasn't
You were
horrible.
happily giving Lawson Grand Prix every weekend before when he wouldn't score points.
Not every
You
weekend.
just have a grudge.
Okay, fine, I'll change it.
You've also just inverted my answer, but just changed it for you. There's no difference in your answer.
Okay, I'm going to give my grand to Max Verstappen because he won the race,
You have
but
schizophrenia.
also
I'm
him
sorry.
winning a race.
I can't keep up with this.
Him winning a race is not that interesting because he wins every other race anyway, so he just gets grand from me.
Okay, and Grand Prix. I am going to give my Grand Prix to Isaac Hadjar because I am very happy that he was able to score his first points, especially after Australia where we saw the tears. I'm just really happy for him.
Yeah, he deserves it.
Yeah, I think we've all gone on a bit of a roller coaster ride with Isaac Hadjar through ups and downs, but ultimately I think there's a soft spot that we have for Isaac Hadjar. I'm down to second that because honestly, if I'm being really real, the race was far too dull for me to put any more thought into this. So yeah,
I think
Isaac
it's
Hadjar.
either Isaac Hadjar for me or Kimi Antonelli, just because he led the race for a little
Yeah, but
bit.
if we give Antonelli this too many flowers, he'll get big headed, then you won't
That's
like
true.
him anymore. So
And then
that's
you'll
not-
start calling him Brat.
Yeah,
Exactly.
that's true.
I think we should go with Isaac Hadjar.
Okay, so we've cemented Isaac Hadjar as our Grand Prix.
Yeah.
The fuck are we doing about Grand and Prix?
What?
What the fuck are we doing for the Grand and the Prix?
The final decision.
Because we haven't come to a consensus. Why do you look so confused? and
Sorry, I
outraged?
thought you said the Grandum Prick, and we'd added a new tier. And I was thinking, I can't think of any more bloody names or things or any storylines. Sorry, okay.
I'm happy to give grand to Alonso for scoring a point.
Oh my god, this sucks.
The bar is low.
Oh, yeah, okay, whatever.
Well, you said Lawson. Reem tried to say Tsunoda, and then I said Alonso. Should we just stage a peaceful protest and say the Grand is Liam Lawson?
Yes.
And the Prick is Christian Horner and Helmut Marko?
Yes,
Yes?
I'm happy to do that.
I'm tired, yeah.
Peaceful protest, wonderful. Reem, you flip-flop so much.
Yeah,
because
you
why
do.
are you suddenly happy to back a peaceful protest in favour of Liam Lawson
Just
when
'cause
you were trying to
I-
put Yuki Tsunoda as the Grand after Iz said Liam Lawson?
Because I dislike Horny Horner more than I dislike Lawson.
He's so toxic from you. Like, the points you're against for all these people, you are more toxic than they are. It's not normal.
Okay, there we go. We have our Grand Prix podium. The Prick is Christian Horner and Helmut Marko. The Grand is Liam Lawson. We support you, hun. And the Grand Prick is Isaac Hadjar. Well done on your first points.
Attaboy. That has been the Grand Prix podcast. We will be back next week for the Bahrain Grand Prix, which will be a night race. Girls, make a noise! Until then, you can follow us on socials on X, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube.
And please, if you feel so inclined to leave a review, it would really, really help us. Please make it a good review. We do not accept bad reviews, even though we have no control over it. And if you are following us on socials, keep an eye out, because there will be a special reveal ahead of the Bahrain Grand Prix.
Well, don't get excited. It's literally not going to be our faces. Do not get paid for this. Not showing you my face. Absolutely not summer ready. It's not going to be our faces.
I would argue it's better than our faces,
Yeah.
because we've been
Hey!
wanting...
My face card's valid. What the hell are you saying? So, that is rude. No.
Just the anticipation. We have been wanting to post this for so long, and it's just, I can't wait. I'm so excited that we finally get to do it.
Yeah, our mothers are going to love this because they're the only ones listening. And they've already seen it, so it's pointless.